Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Hi, and welcome back to another Realistic Sustainability Educational Short. This one's a lot of fun. Well, I say a lot of fun, but even in the research for this one, it was a little weird. Roundabouts. I'm going to talk about roundabouts. Did you get an emotional response? It seems like everybody I talk to has an emotional response about roundabouts, and almost everybody is negative. I live in Michigan. These things are popping up everywhere. We're starting to see them even in my little town. Roundabouts are popping up every place they're doing new construction. And everybody's got an opinion about it. I know you're shocked. It's change, so it's usually negative. But are they good? Are they bad? What the heck are they? Well, if you don't live in a place that has roundabouts, you probably remember it from the European Vacation movie with Chevy Chase as the family drove in circles over and over and over again by Big Ben. It can happen like that, but it usually don't. Roundabouts are those circle intersections where everybody has kind of a staggered right of way. There's a lot of pros and cons. Well, let's start with the negatives, since every time I read something online, someone had something negative to say. I had to weed out silly things, like talking about how it just isn't safe, or that it doesn't actually make things more efficient. Well, there are some real cons. Let's go with those. First of all, it takes a lot more right-of-way space. It's a bigger footprint than a standard corner. It takes more space to build a roundabout. Plus, as we're learning, drivers have a learning curve. I think still to this day, as I pull up to them, I get a little bit of anxiety until I realize there's no one else on them and I can kind of just drive through. But drivers, it takes a minute to get used to it. And it also requires that if you're in a city that has one, it takes away all that parking on the street nearby. Can't have that. Cars can hit cars. The idea is that we're going to see each other, slow down, and stop crashing into each other. The last thing we need is cars parked real close. Where there's a lot of pros that go along with roundabouts. I know, you're thinking, no there's not, I hate them, don't do it. But there is. Because the things that you dislike are the reasons why they're there. It reduces the average vehicle delay at an intersection. Think about it. How many times have you stopped at a red light? It's blinking. There's not a car in sight. It seems like at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get home, I'm always stopping at a stop sign, thinking, well, that was fun. I wish I could have just drove through. Well, roundabout? You do. Or you just take your turn. There's no other cars there. It's always your turn. So any of those drives, those late night drives, or drives in areas where there's less cars, you don't actually stop. It's quicker. It does slow traffic. If you have a lot of traffic in that area, it creates what's called a traffic calming effect, which is what just about every planner is trying to do in a city right now. We've gotten to a point where most people in cars think they have the right of way. How many times have you heard your friend huff and puff and throw his chest out and say, well, if they step off that corner, I'll just hit them? Well, if they do, they go to jail. That's illegal. People have to remember, cars don't have the right of way when it comes to pedestrians. The goal is to slow traffic down to a standard pace. Trust me, you'll get there just as quickly, maybe even still faster with slowing things down like this because you never actually stop at the stop signs or the stoplights. Traffic calming is safety precautions. It's actually shown if you put a roundabout in an area, it greatly reduces the severity of traffic collisions. Other than the one guy who's been drinking too much and goes jumping over top of the center, most cars slow down. So, for an example, I know several people who've been hit at stoplights. Matter of fact, I'm one of them. I was at a stoplight in Flint, Michigan, at a complete stop. The person behind me, they were not. They continued right through the back of my Jeep. Not cool, guys. But the fact is, in a roundabout, no one really stops. And, well, I take that back. Sometimes you do. you don't really have to stop. A lot of times you can creep in there, which, since everybody's going slower, even if you did get in an accident, it's more of a fender bender than someone doing 60 through an intersection. So, traffic collisions, the severity dropped dramatically. Oddly enough, as much as people complain about roundabouts, vehicle accidents and vehicle accidents hitting pedestrians drop dramatically. You know why? Because roundabouts are new and you're constantly looking. So you don't hit the person who's walking down the side of the road. You don't hit that other vehicle because you're looking for those other vehicles. That's one of the good things about roundabouts. In a 2014 study, but by the Minnesota Department of Transportation, they concluded that roundabouts reduced crashes in Minnesota by over 30%. And injuries in crashes declined over 65%. And best of all, fatalities dropped 82%. That's a big deal. Cars are one of the more dangerous things that we get in every single day. Roundabouts drop the chances of getting killed, hurt, or even damaging your vehicle. Now, we may not like them, but it doesn't take long. We get used to them. The rest of the world has. And last, and one of my favorites, it reduces the amount of emissions. When you stop a vehicle, sit there and idle, and then stomp on the gas to get back to your cruising speed, you use more gas. More gas, more emissions. So, when you run through a roundabout, you slow down, you drive slower through it, but you rarely ever stop, which means consuming nearly as much fuel at every stop sign. And if, for an example, you're running through town, that can be quite a few stops. Over the lifetime of a vehicle, that's a tremendous amount of emissions and fuel that would have been wasted that isn't now. Roundabouts help in just about every facet, as long as we are open-minded and we take the time to learn them without being confused. Most problems happen because of confusion, and I get it. Again, I still get the anxiety when I pull up to them too, but if you respect them, slow down, move through, they're really quite easy to navigate. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this short. I appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next week.
Feeling overwhelmed by climate change? Looking for sustainable and ethical brands to support? Then Ethic is perfect for you. Ethic is a simple browser extension that helps you find sustainable and ethical brands online. Learn more at ethyk.org, ethyk.org.